Hi guys! In today's video, I want to talk about episode 7 of the Wheel of Time. And the way I'll be talking about this episode is I'll be sectioning it into 3 different parts. The first part will be the things that I like about this episode in particular. The second part will be criticism. And the third part will be a bunch of theories that I have based on the stuff that has been hinted at and what I think will happen in the next episode. And yeah, let's get into it. So the things that I enjoyed, per usual, I really like the actors, the way they perform. They feel very real and natural, and I really appreciate that because they don't break the immersion of the story by not doing a good job. And next thing that I really liked was the fact that the atmosphere was way better and the directing was way better, and you can really see the difference and it can really immerse you in the story. And also props to the fact that they opened the windows when they arrived in Faldara and you can actually see outside, and it feels like they're not on a sound stage because you can see mountains, you can see everything around them. Yeah, these are the praises. I know it's a little, but I have a few thoughts of the things that I don't like, so let's jump into the criticism. So first off, we begin with the cold open of Blood Snow, and I really liked her fighting, the way she was fighting. She was very acrobatic, but for my personal taste, it was a bit too Marvel-y in a sense. Like she was constantly posing, like she was fighting a bit and then posing, fighting a bit and then posing, and it felt a bit off, especially since she fought so many soldiers. Like I would have preferred if the scene was cut shorter and she wouldn't have fought as many soldiers as she did, because it would have made it more believable for her, a 9-month pregnant lady that's giving birth, to fight as many people as she did. Another thing that irked me was the fact that she fought them unveiled, because non-book readers don't get to have the context that we as book readers have, and we know the backstory of this character in particular, and we understand why maybe she wouldn't wear the veil and whatnot. But if you as a show present Tom telling Matt that Aiels always fight when they are veiled.
You see, it's only when they're veiled you should worry. That's when you're as good as dead. Now there's no threat.
And the next time we see anything or hear anything about an Aiel, she is fighting without a veil, it creates another inconsistency. You have to set things up and show them as the way you told them a bunch of times before you break that rule. It comes off as an inconsistency in writing.
But the thing I was always reminding her of, and myself of, is we need to see her pain and her emotionality. We need to see what's in her eyes, because her quest right now is to have this child.
Another thing that is weird with this scene in particular is the fact that we haven't heard any of the dragon prophecies, and we don't know why this spot and this woman giving birth here is important. It's so random. It feels very random because you don't know that the dragon must be born on Dragon Mount, and it's just strange. It's just a scene of a woman giving birth and you're like, okay, why does it make Rand the Dragon Reborn? And just like I mentioned in my previous video, it's always, they never set things up and then a big reveal and you're like, wow, I'm satisfied to know the answer. It's always at the end of the episode when a random character just gives you an exposition dump as to why that happened.
It was the first vision I ever had. I was a kid, walking down a damp alleyway in Tavalon.
And it's not satisfying, it's not interesting to follow a character's journey when there's no setup, there's nothing intriguing, there's no satisfaction in finding the answer, and it always comes off as a Deus Ex Machina, basically.
I saw a baby born on the slopes of Dragon Mount. That baby was something impossible.
What if Katara's vision was wrong? You were there. You were there when she had the vision of the baby being born. We were the only ones there.
We've been searching for the Dragon Reborn.
And one last thing that I have to say about the cold open is I really do not enjoy the fact that a secondary character got a really long scene of her fighting and being really cool when our main characters don't. Like, we haven't seen Lan do anything as special as this Aiel person has done in like 7 episodes. And it's weird because they even are turning Lan into a glorified bodyguard because we haven't seen him be as cool as everybody says he is. And it's really weird the way they're distributing their time and their moments to characters that are either dead end plots or don't really like matter to the story, because this Aiel obviously died. So why would I need to have such a long scene with her when I could have had something cooler with Lan? So then we get to the Waygate scene. First off, I don't know why they didn't use Loyal instantly to explain why Ma Shin is what Ma Shin is, because Nynaeve asks him and he's like, yeah, we don't have the time, we have to go after Moraine. But after like 2 minutes, they explain it anyway, and I don't understand why we're wasting time with characters saying that they don't have time to like tell us stuff and then tell us. Like, this is very strange.
There will be time for every story as we travel.
Another theme that I found that is reoccurring throughout the show, and I find it very jarring, is the fact that every single character is a douchebag. I do not understand why we needed Moraine to basically say that Matt would turn to the dark side if he met the Dark One and make him this huge bad villain with irredeemable qualities, when they just could have said, yeah, he just up and left.
There's an inherent darkness within him. He was drawn to the dagger, and it was feeding on him as much as he was on it.
And they just keep on doubling down on him, insinuating that he isn't a nice person or a good guy throughout the whole episode. And it's very weird because if you've read the series, you know that Matt is a hero with a heart of gold. But here, he has been presented such in a bad light that I do not understand how he can be redeemable. And it's weird because they're trying to make every single character a douchebag. Like, I'll get more into it as we move further along in the discussion of the episode, but these are changes that I truly do not understand. Like, why is it happening? The ways themselves looked okay. I would have preferred a more darker look to them, more sinister, but it was fine with me. Like, I don't mind them. And I find it very strange that no one talks about Perrin's abilities after the fact. Like, they know he has golden eyes, that's strange, and now they see that he can see long distance in the dark, and no one asks him about it. Like, why do you have such good vision? What's going on with you? And it's very weird because they could have a moment with Perrin asking Moraine, or Moraine going to Perrin, and whatever, just a character development moment with Perrin. We never get people reacting like actual people. We only get like hints and nods to the things that are going on, like Rand saying, oh, Perrin, you see well, and then that's it.
How did you see that? I don't know.
Another thing that happened in the Ways, and it's a bit strange, was the fact that they were attacked by one single Trolloc. And the thing that I believe was intended with this stuff was to give Rand another scene to use in the flashback, because we only had him just carrying Tam and him breaking down a door, and they needed to give something else for him, and they just made him channel and protect Egwene, which was cute because he protected Egwene, but I don't understand. It was very anticlimactic, especially when you're taking into consideration that they were basically on just a bridge, and Lan didn't feel the Trolloc approaching, didn't see the Trolloc approaching, didn't do anything, and he's a warder. Just like I mentioned in my previous video, I don't understand the role of Loyal in the TV show. He is basically just a plot device, and the single thing that he helps them with is reading that slab, which could have been very easily distributed to Moraine. Like, Moraine knows how to read Ogier, Moraine knows how to travel the ways. Especially because as soon as they get to Faldara, he is just gone. Like, we don't see him, nobody mentions him, nobody talks about him, we don't know what's going on with him. He's just just vanished. And this is such a missed opportunity because they could have used Loyal to really show the viewers how expansive the world is. They could have used Loyal to explain what the Ogiers are, what do they do, what the steadings are, where they live, and it would have shown that Two Rivers and everything that we've seen is just like a little trickle in the overall story. And it would have been so cool because we don't know anything about Loyal, and I truly do not understand why they even had him. Next up, let's talk about Ma Xinxin. And it's very peculiar that they didn't introduce the idea of Ma Xinxin and explained what it is and how bad and evil it is from the moment they enter the ways.
What is Ma Xinxin?
Rainsadai is moving quite quickly.
Whereas they introduced and explained what it does as it was happening.
What is Ma Xinxin?
It translates from the old tongue to mean the Black Wind.
And what exactly is the Black Wind?
Ma Xinxin will speak to you. Do not listen.
And this didn't create any sort of tension because you didn't have to sit with that information and see them walking through the ways and get gradually more and more terrified of maybe the Ma Xinxin will appear or whatever. And they just spoon feed you at the moment it's happening. It doesn't create suspense. And not to mention that the escape itself is very underwhelming. It doesn't feel like they're under threat. Moraine just goes and tries to open the door, and Nynaeve somehow protects them. And that's it, especially with the stuff that Ma Xinxin is saying to them, because you could say that he is revealing their inner thoughts and inner worries, but it's not even done well because it's not a reveal to the audience, it's just a repetition of the stuff we already know.
Egwene will never love you as much as you love her.
She loved you once, and she'll leave you again. You wanted Layla dead, out of the world. That's why you killed her, because you loved another woman more than your wife.
Because we already know that Rand loves Egwene, and Perrin feels very bad that he killed Layla, and Nynaeve tries to save everybody. We know that Lan is protective over Moraine because we've explored the warrior bond in previous episodes. The only things that are revealed is that Moraine feels bad for bringing the Two Rivers people to the Eye of the World, and that Perrin actually has a crush on Egwene. Next, they get out of the Waygate, Moraine saves the day, and it's another inconsistency is the fact that they mention that the only way to open a Waygate is using the One Power, but as soon as they're in, Loyal tells them that they cannot use the One Power inside of the ways.
Unfortunately, reopening the Waygate would be impossible. There cannot be any use of the One Power within the ways.
Because you attract Ma Xinxin, and I'm just wondering what their end plan is, because if Nynaeve wouldn't have been able to protect them, what would have happened to them? Because Moraine wasn't able to open the door as quickly as possible so as they can just run off. And it's very strange because I don't understand her plan. And another inconsistency is the fact that we get to see Padan Fain just stroll out of the Waygate. And they explain this by having some X-ray stills of the actor that plays Padan Fain with a leaf that opens, in the books, the Waygates are open with a leaf, and we can see that he has a leaf. But this is not a way to explain what's going on in your show. You have to show me in the actual show, not just backtrack after the episode has been dropped and just give me a bunch of stills that explains the inconsistency. It's still a problem. How was he able to get out, and why doesn't Loyal know about the leaf? Because the ways are gifts for the Ogiers, so Ogiers have to know everything, or they have to be knowledgeable of how to open a Waygate and how to use it, in a sense. And why doesn't he know about the leaf? One last thing about the Waygates is the fact that when they're traveling through the Waygates, Moraine says that they have 1 day's travel until they reach the gate that she seeks.
It's a day's journey at least to reach our Waygate, so
And when their journey is cut short and they reach Faldara, she says that it's a one-day journey to the Eye.
The Eye of the World is a day's walk beyond the city.
Why would they walk through the ways an extra day when they could just walk from Faldara to the Eye of the World in exactly that time period? The only explanation is that maybe there's a waygate that's right next to the Eye of the World, and I'm kind of positive that we will not get an explanation of this in the next episode and actually see a waygate that close to the Eye of the World. As we get into Faldara, we get to meet Lord Agilmar and Lady Amalisa. And as I've mentioned before about all the characters being douchebags, Lord Agilmar apparently hates Aes Sedai.
My lord, I can assure you that neither I nor any Aes Sedai doubts your ability to keep the blight
I
at
should
bay.
hope not.
I truly do not understand this change. It seems like every single character has to be insufferable, and it doesn't create the type of tension that they would have expected. If Agilmar was shown as a competent and wise and smart and good leader, and he was shown asking and needing Moraine's help as an Aes Sedai to fight off Trollocs that were coming off from the borderlands because they were overwhelmed, it would have created more tension to understand that these people that are trained warriors, that are very good in battle, that are used to fighting off Trollocs and Fates, that they need help. And it would have made the Shadow Spawn an actual threat. Like, you would have seen that in Faldara they need help. Like, it's gone to a point that they are requesting for Moraine's help with like her powers. And instead of setting up the Dark One's armies and showing them as a threat, they created a little interpersonal conflict that is resolved by the end of the scene that isn't interesting on its own, and it falls very flat.
It might be prudent to have a group of men wall up the Faldaran waygate as well.
Do as she says.
And talking about making the characters seem very villainous and insufferable, I do not understand why Moraine would request Lady Amalisa to send Red Ajah sisters after Matt. Like, what is the purpose of doing such a thing? Like, he's in the Dragon Reborn, she isn't requesting Blue Ajah so they can spy on him and know his whereabouts. She's sending an Ajah that we've established that basically all of them are evil in the show, and I don't understand her logic in doing so because Matt isn't the Dark One. Like, stop with that nonsense. What follows is another scene where the show creates these very forced conflicts between the characters by making them unnecessarily aggressive towards each other. Moraine is being unreasonably mean towards Min, and she even goes as far as threatening to reveal her secret.
It's quite invasive, this. Do they know what I am?
No, no one does, thanks to the Aes Sedai. I mean, if we revealed what you were, you'd be hounded every minute of the day. Or worse.
She basically threatens to have Min killed if she doesn't help her. And then we get a scene of our main characters just talking with each other, and Moraine appears and tells them that they basically have a choice of coming with her at the Eye of the World, but just beware that whoever is not the dragon and comes will for certain die. And this is very strange because in just that dialogue, she says that doubt is the first step to joining the Dark One.
It's easy to use doubt as a crutch, but doubt is the first step towards surrender to the dark. What if Katara's vision was wrong? I know less now than I did then.
That's just exhaustion talking.
What if we brought the other sisters in? It's easy to use doubt as a crutch.
And she, throughout the show, doubts the prophecy. She questions every single line of the prophecy, but now she is so certain about the fact that whoever joins her to the Eye and isn't the dragon will die. I think the only reason this line is in the script is that it's setting something up, and that I'll be discussing in my theory spoiler part of the video. But yeah, it feels very contrived, and it's forcing tension out of nowhere. And After Moraine leaves, I actually do enjoy the scene because we get to see our characters actually think things over and decide if they want to join her and basically go to their certain deaths. And that was a great scene. But then again, we're interrupted by this false tension of all the guys being in love with Egwene.
Don't speak to her like that!
Stop it! Don't do this!
She's not sure what she wants.
Don't do this
Let me
here.
give you a clue.
You owe her an apology.
For what? The truth?
Stop! Just stop! I am so tired of you two fighting over her like she's something you can win.
Wait for her to say the words. Fine. And she will.
The only woman I've ever loved was my wife.
And even if I really enjoyed the scene of them like brooding over the decision, it still feels very unnatural because I don't know, as a just show watcher, I don't know anything about the characters because they feel very one-dimensional. Perrin is only thinking of the fact that he killed his wife. Rand is always thinking about Egwene, and Nynaeve about Lan and the fact that she feels the need to protect the Two Rivers kids. And Egwene, I don't even know, because in the last episode we saw her questioning Moraine's like intentions when she asked what is going to happen to the other people that aren't the dragon.
What about whoever's not the dragon? What happens to them?
But in this episode, she seems so very brave and powerful and not scared of anything. And she actually encourages her friends to go with her to the Eye of the World and actually tells Nynaeve that she, as a wisdom, should have been able to make the decision on her own. And it really irks me because every single scene just turns into a Egwene show, because we had our characters thinking about their possible deaths, but at the end that scene turned into a fight between Perrin and Rand for their love of Egwene. And then we get a scene of Nynaeve apologizing to Egwene, which is very strange and out of character for her. Like, she wouldn't do that easily at all.
I owe you an apology. I spoke out of turn. Didn't mean to stir anything up.
And then we have a scene with Rand, who is very troubled by his inner thoughts and conflicts, being interrupted by Egwene and turning into a lovey-dovey scene of Rand saying that he will be her warder. And they just ruined the possible character development of any other characters by throwing Egwene in the scene and changing the subject completely of the scene to become something about Egwene or involving Egwene. And then we get a very peculiar scene of Nynaeve stalking Lan and Lan having a sort of made-up family. And then we have the weirdest blocking that I've ever seen in a show of Lan just teleporting from the dinner scene behind Nynaeve. And it's so strange. Like, he wasn't even able to suspect that Trolloc was in the ways, but apparently he's able to teleport, but whatever. And then we get another scene of Lan and Nynaeve furthering their relationship. And I like the fact that they explored a bit more on their relationship in the show, but it feels at this point that this is the only thing that the show is really concentrated on, because there's so many romance-based scenes in this show, and it feels very strange because you can have a romance between two people without constantly having to show that they consummated, and to obviously like have, as we had in this episode, so many couples that do it one after the other, and we get overly focused on these specific scenes and these like little relationships that they have without actually focusing on the overall plot and the overall mission that they're on, and without furthering the plot in any shape or form. And this really shows because the Dark One hasn't had any presence or any sort of tension or anything about him for the past a bunch of episodes. And even the little nightmares that we got in like episode 2 haven't been a recurring thing. Like, we just moved on from them, and it would have been such a great way to show that something very maleficent and very life-threatening is happening to our characters. Even if we got those like romance moments, it would have been a nice like breather to actually show what the concept of the whole series is about, because now we're too overly focused on this specific subplot. And I actually thought that the showrunners aged up all the characters specifically not to fall in that YA category, but it seems like they did. And now for the big reveal of the episode, the season, is that Rand realizes that he is the Dragon Reborn. And because they introduced this mystery of who is the Dragon Reborn, and they basically changed the core of the story to maneuver this mystery, I would have expected the reveal to be something extraordinary, like to feel like you're, oh my god, this is the Dragon Reborn, like I have goosebumps. But it wasn't that. It was a scene so downplayed, and it went by so fast, like in less than 30 seconds. It's, if you blink, you're not going to hear Tam in that foreshadowing, in that flashback. You're not going to hear him say that he found a baby on Dragonmount.
What are you talking about?
It's so weird for them to have all the character development of a season for Rand be smushed into a flashback scene of him remembering, oh, my dad told me that I'm an Aiel. Like, you haven't been particularly triggered by the thought that my dad told me that I'm an Aiel. Even if you don't show the audience, it didn't seem like Rand had much thought of what he heard in the Winter Night. And it doesn't seem like he was it doesn't seem like he was troubled by finding out that Tam isn't his father, by finding the Heronmark blade with just a farmer. And it's just so strange to assume that people would think that Rand actually had any thoughts of being the Dragon Reborn, or he was questioning his like origins or whatever. Because now if you go and watch the show again, it doesn't come across that way. It's just a bad twist done badly at the end of the season. And it's such a cheap way of writing to show us things that don't happen originally as we've seen them, and then to introduce them like, haha, you actually didn't see that. A good twist is to show the viewer one thing, and by the end of that season to like recontextualize that thing, so as when you rewatch, you're like, that's been there the whole season. Now I understand why that thing is the way it is. And it's not hidden by a cut or like a misleading channeling moment. This is not the way to do a twist and to do a big reveal of the swords that you've worked on the whole season. Basically, the writer is cheating the audience and feels very, very underwhelming. And I have a little theory as to why Rand's moment was underwhelming, but I'll get into that in the theory section of the video if you don't want to be spoiled in case it happens, but we'll get into that later. Then we get a scene of Nynaeve and Egwene and Perrin coming to terms with the fact that they want to join Moiraine on her quest to go to the Eye of the World and defeat the Dark One. And again, Perrin doesn't even get a line. They ask him if he's okay with it and he just nods.
I want to go.
Tell her, or let her think we still have a chance to escape. An hour of hope or an hour of despair. Perrin looked at Egwene again and blinked away hot tears. He touched his axe and wondered if he had the courage. In the last minutes when the ravens descended on them, when all hope was gone, would he have the courage to spare her the death the fox had died? But a small voice taunted him. But you would have done it, wouldn't you? Not quite an hour till dark. If not for the steading, all of you would be dead now. Would you have saved her? Would you have cut her down like so many bushes? Bushes don't bleed, do they? Or scream, and look in your eyes and ask why.
Don't speak to her like that!
And Lan comes in and tells them that Moraine masks her bond, and they realize that they don't even know where Rand is. So obviously Moraine and Rand just took off to go to the Eye of the World and defeat the Dark One. The Blight looks a bit weird because it's not gradually done, it's just a line and then the Blight, but we'll see how it plays out in the next episode. I'll hold my judgment of it until we actually get to be in the Blight and see how it is depicted. And now moving on to the theory part of the video. So if you don't want to be spoiled in case these things happen in the show, just skip over to the outro. So my first theory is that Moraine will be killed off by the end of the season, and this has been hinted at numerous times, and it just all points to the fact that she'll probably meet her end at the Eye of the World. And logistically, I don't know how this will help the story in the later seasons, but we'll see.
When a warrior loses his Aes Sedai, the pain is so deep. It's almost like he's swallowed her death.
I read once there's a way to release the bond.
There now, sister. Lan has nothing to worry about. You'll be here with us a long time yet.
The last few weeks, every night I see the same thing. The Dark One. At the Eye of the World.
Ishamael. Father of Lies.
He's weak. Barely clinging to his power, but getting stronger every day. We can destroy him. If we go now, we have the advantage. We know where he is.
We don't know which one of them is the dragon.
Take them all.
We'd be sentencing the other 4 to certain death.
Maybe, maybe not.
But whichever of you goes to the Eye of the World and is not the dragon, you will die there. Whoever comes between the dragon and the Dark One will die. You saw something for me?
Don't look at me like that. I see the Amarylline seat and she's wearing full regalia and she's going to be your downfall.
I thought we'd have more time.
We always think that.
One day we will. In this life or the next.
And I don't like it because even if you say that she has been the main focus of the series this season because she will be killed off by the end, I still don't like it because we haven't developed any of the other characters. We've just been focused on her. In other TV shows such as Game of Thrones, in the first season when Ned Stark is killed off by the end of the season, all the other characters were very well developed and very well fleshed out. And it's not even a small number of characters. There are a bunch of characters that are really fleshed out. You understand their motives, you understand their perspectives and beliefs and everything about them. You don't only get to see Ned really well fleshed out and the others characters just treated badly like glorified extras. But in the Wheel of Time, we focused so much on Moraine and basically given nothing to the other characters so far. So it's not even excusable if you think that because Moraine was killed off, that's why we focus so much on her, because it could have been done better and we could have had more time with the other characters so we can understand the other people that we will be continuing this journey on with in the later seasons. And even if they killed off Moraine at the end of the season, her relationship with the other people isn't really fleshed out because there's no development. So why would Perrin care that Moraine is gone? The only relationship that is fleshed out is between Moraine and Lan, and then I can understand that Lan will suffer. But other than that, I really don't see the point of any of them being affected by the fact that Moraine will probably die at the Eye of the World. So these have been my thoughts and criticisms of episode 7 and what I think might happen in episode 8. And I'm really curious to see what your guys' opinion on the episodes are, what you liked, what you didn't like, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye!